You're watching E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Share and subscribe.
So what if Godzilla submitted to Ghidorah? For those of you who are video watchers here on the channel, you are currently watching a live recording during my stream and where we discuss this topic. So what would happen if that were to be the case? What if when Ghidorah did his alpha call, Godzilla responded? Well, think about this. There would be only two kaiju left in the world, more or less, that would stand against a series of monsters that would be answering to Ghidorah, one of them including Godzilla. You'd have King Kong, or Kong, they don't refer to him as King, and you would have Mothra. Now, some could argue, well, you could throw in Rodan as a wild card. He attempts to flip the table. And maybe in this case, we should try and give our allies all the help they need. Now, some things to consider. It's not as bleak as you might think. We've already seen in the movie that Godzilla is more than capable of being taken out by the oxygen destroyer. I still think the problem here would be more or less Ghidorah and not necessarily Godzilla. I mean, if you change the scenario of the movie, you find out pretty early that Godzilla is going to answer that call. So at what point would they launch the oxygen destroyer on him? Well, they would have to do it during a time where basically they'd be able to have him pretty much still, like in the water, and in the water would be more ideal because on land you have a better chance of catching humanity. So you would have to do a lot of distractions to try and get Godzilla to stop long enough to launch this weapon. Then there is the tracking. Now, the tracking is very tricky because what we see in Godzilla King of the Monsters is that Godzilla is capable of dropping off radar and then popping up again. And if you wonder why, but most of you should know by now why that is, obviously the hollow Earth plays a pivotal role in how Godzilla travels throughout the planet. That's why he's able to get from one side to another side a lot quicker than most people might think, or a lot quicker than it seems that he should be able to. So, the other problem though, even if you manage to take out Godzilla with a oxygen destroyer, even if you manage to get enough ships in there, enough submarines to get in there and stall him, now it'd be a suicide mission. Most of those guys are not coming home. But you stop him long enough to launch the missile. You don't kill him, but remember, Dr. Chen said, if you knock him out, he's out of commission for a couple of years. Boom. Now, you have to deal with Ghidorah. I said it right. I said it right. And that herein is where the problem is. The question here then goes to, can King Kong, or can Kong, take out Ghidorah? Now, many will argue, of course not. And on the surface, I would agree. I mean, when you consider what Ghidorah is capable of, then yeah, it would be a tough fight. But there is one important element to this fight: Mothra. Now, assuming things go similar to what happened in King of the Monsters, we know that Mothra is more than capable of taking out Rodan, if Rodan seems to be a problem. And again, Rodan is the wild card. I said a little bit ago that maybe they need all the help they get. You put Rodan on their side, but let's keep Rodan as a wild card. Let's keep it as it is. Now you have Kong showing down with Ghidorah. Now, the problem here is Kong has no kind of projectile coming out of his breath, or his mouth, I should say. And essentially, I think closing in will be the issue for Kong. But I do feel strongly that if Kong is able to close in on Ghidorah, he can put those three heads in a headlock and just go to town. But that's my opinion. Fact of the matter is, it would definitely be a tougher world out there. It would probably get to a point where the world would have to combine their forces along with the remaining kaiju that are on their side to take down Ghidorah, so that way the other titans can just take it easy. We also have to take into consideration the Orca. The Orca is more than capable of, at least if nothing else, triggering Ghidorah's attention. I think that's a key role. You can at least, if nothing else, take Ghidorah to where you need him to be. Maybe you want to try and dump him back in the ice. So you put an orca wave back up in Antarctica, maybe try and trap him in the ice again. I think the point I'm trying to make is, as bleak as the world might look with a Godzilla that is not on their side, but is on the side of Ghidorah, it's really not, it's not a situation that they can't come out of. It'll just be harder. Obviously, having Godzilla on your side would make life fantastic. But if he wasn't, if these two alpha monsters were to actually team up, it would be a tougher fight. A lot of lives would be lost, but there are ways to get out of the situation. It just takes a little bit more brain power. It takes a very unpredictable Kong, I'd have to say, because we really don't know what his situation is right now. We don't know how big he is. We don't know if he has any extra powers. We don't know just how much stronger he's become. So those are important factors that we just don't know yet. So we kind of have to assume that while he might be bigger, just how much stronger is he? We can't make him too strong because we don't know. Obviously, we can't make him too weak. But I think it's fair to argue that until we know that, we can't specifically say that he'd have an advantage over Ghidorah. I think he'd put up a decent fight. I think he'd put up an important enough fight so that humanity and him combined, along with Mothra, can take out Ghidorah. So, those are my opinions. Let me know in the comment section what you think would happen in a world where King of the Monsters, Godzilla, answered Ghidorah's alpha call. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.